Hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Let me try and move this to my headset. Hold on, it's not in my headset here. Just speak through my headset to be clear. Hello.
Yeah, I can
Hello.
see you. Yes, sir.
Possible if you don't have a 2-1. It's not the end of the world. The second thing I want you to do as an undergraduate when making a decision, and it's kind of compulsory also, ask yourself, how many people do you know today that you can refer to as being successful? And their major reason why they are successful in life is because of their first degree or even their master's. You see, specialized knowledge, which is what we acquire when we are in school or when we learn craft, is one of the major things in life that will give us recognition and put food on our table, make us earn a living or salary. But when it comes to our success is not usually tied to what our BSc says or our certificate or our first degree. So what I want to tell you today is whatever you have as your degree, always have, I won't call it a backup plan, but always have something else you can offer. It might be as simple as you being very good at volunteering. It might be as learning human relation skills. It might be as simple as you learning all the different of type of IT and IT solutions that are out there today. It might be as easy as you learning an handicraft or an handiwork. But again, I would put it to you, apart from your BSc, what else are you also developing? Those are two critical things that you need to look up to. For me, when I was in school, I made sure that I developed my math skills a lot. It took me a long way. I never for once dropped my math skill. Till tomorrow, I still apply my math skills in different ways. Of course, some of you know about Math for Life Foundation is part of it. Of course, I have speaking skills, of public speaking abilities too. I have some other things that I developed over time. But make sure that no matter how simple it is, I always ask students one thing. If you graduate today and I tell you, bring your certificate, come and collect it 3 years from today, what will you do in that 3 years? Will you say, oh, I cannot do any work, I can't make a living because I don't have a certificate? Whatever you think today, whatever idea occurred to you that you can do within those 3 years, then you need to start doing it now as part of your plan to graduate. Yes, we all went to school. I know it's difficult to graduate. To even make a pass out of school is very difficult. But guess what? You need that second plan. You need that other thing. Because whether you are trying to get a high-end job or you are trying to start something on your own, that thing will always distinguish you. And like I said, it can be as simple as you volunteering or learning human interaction skills. All any of the IT um, options that are out there today. Okay. I haven't said that. Why is it difficult to make the right decision, whether as an undergraduate or as human being? I have about 8 of them listed, but I want to go through them quickly so that I can get more time for questions. First, but not the greatest on my list here, is willingness to pay the price. For every decision we make as human beings, as an undergraduate, there is always a price to be paid. Sometimes this price comes as money. At times it just comes as time. Sometimes it comes as other things we might need to give up. I remember, for those of us that are familiar with Society of Petroleum Engineers, which is the reason why we are here today, back then, I think it was 2005. My first time in NICE was 2004. And in 2005, I couldn't get sponsorship or placement to go as sponsored place. And I think then NICE used to be 10,000 naira. Do you know, as a student back there, I had to find way of making sure that I had to pay the full money for sponsorship for the conference and still transport myself all the way from Ibadan to Abuja, Nikon Hilton, then to join the conference. Till tomorrow, I can tell you that the nice bag I got there, I still use it till now to do some stuff, to show you how attached I am with that amount I had to pay for myself. There is nothing wrong for most of you asking me today how you can get sponsored to NICE or how I can put you on committees to get to NICE. It's very fine, perfect. But what happens when you are not able to get someone to sponsor you to NICE or get a placement? If you really want it, are you willing to pay that price? Because no matter what the NICE fee is now, I think 50,000 or 60,000, I'm sure a lot of you still spend that money on a lot of irrelevant things or some other things. You can actually raise it within a year. We still have how many months to NICE? 3 to 4 months. If you really want to attend, you can actually raise it. And I bet you, same thing as with me, the way you will treat the NICE that you cough out 60K to pay by yourself will be different from the way you actually treat it if I tell you to come or someone else sponsor you or you get a way to get there. That's human being. When you pay the price for yourself by yourself, the reaction, the attentiveness is usually different. Sometimes it has to be time. And really, there is no way you won't have to pay in time. In fact, there is no way you won't have to pay by giving some things up. I was at Benin over the weekend. I was doing my course of training. I was asking the professionals there, have you ever thought on an average as human being, whether a lady or a guy, how much we spend on social media and other irrelevant things just because of the instant gratification they give us, just because of the instant happiness? We say life is boring, life is tired. The average time we, even as grown-up adults, spend on a day is almost 3 hours on irrelevant things. Multiply that by 365 days. It's more than enough to get an MBA or another master's. Same thing with undergraduates, from TikTok to WhatsApp status, to Instagram, to Facebook, to Twitter. Then you now talk about gisting, to football, to the football wrap-up. Think about it. Between you and I, how much time do you think you say you spend irrelevant in a day, no matter how busy you say your life is? So sometimes the reason why we are not going to make that decision on how to make the right choices in terms of making sure that we give all it takes to make that 2-1 or first class, or to pick up another side also, is just because we are not willing to pay that price in terms of actual money, in terms of time, or because of other forms and social things we might be missing. Another reason why people fail to make the right decision is fear of failure. What if I spend this money and this time and this energy and everything, and at the end of the day, it fails? Trust me, if you don't fail enough, you won't be able to make progress in anything you do. Fail fast, fail forward. I can tell you for free, There are some courses I offered in school when I was in school. I might be a smart student, but I didn't make a first class. There are some courses I had to fail, though back then in UI, I don't know if that's how it works again now. It's not every course that you fail that you write if they are not required or compulsory, you know. But guess what? Don't be afraid to fail. If I list my failure, you will run away. You will think, how do you get there? But if you are not trying enough, there is no way you will fail. If you are not extending and exerting your energy enough, there is no way you will fail. Failure for sometimes helps you know your limits at that point in time. It helps you test your limits. Again, the right decision you need to be making in my own approach as an undergraduate is just to making sure you have the best grade you can in school, 2-1 or first class. Okay, fine. The worst has come to the worst. You can't make that. Get the best out of it. I have a friend that was my 2 year senior in secondary school and happens to be my 2 year senior in our institution back then in UI. He studied mechanical engineering. Guess what? He graduated 2 years before me, but he graduated with a pass. Pass. He has to, but because he's really willing and desperate, he still went back for his PDD. He did his master's. Right now, he works in the US for Alcatel, but he graduated with a pass. So even if you graduated with a pass, it is not it doesn't debar your career in any way. And the second thing I told you initially is that make sure you have something else to offer. When you know that these two are the decisions you are trying to make, every other thing is easier. And you must make sure that some of these things are listed here that might be making it difficult for you to make the right decision. You clear it out of the way. For some of us, it's parental influence. You see, it's very, very difficult most times for parents that can even give you everything that you need for such children or such offspring or such children to even be better than the parents. It's very difficult because sometimes this thing is a lot of use and disuse. If you as a child, you as a student, you have everything at your disposal and you have not gone through some stress in life, how do you know how to use that part of your brain? If you don't know that there's a possibility of you not getting food to eat tomorrow, how do you actually know how to cook or hustle for food? Literally speaking. I used to have one intern in those days that did a 4-year course in a university in the US, a 4 year chemical engineering course in the university in the US. She didn't pass very well. Then the parent took her again to um, another petroleum engineering school in the UK to spend 2 years to have a BSc, then went for a master's. Almost $300,000 coughed out by the parents to have BSc and masters. And my question was, okay, when will you repay this? There are some of your mates that got all this through sweat, through your own hustle, getting scholarship. Sometimes when you have parental influence, and sometimes it could go both positive or negative. Sometimes it's because of a parent telling you cannot do it, and because of that, you give up too. But try as much as possible, not the influence, because whatever your success or failure of your parent is, try as much as possible not to be yours, because you have to make your own success and make your own decision. One of the other reasons is perfectionism. There is not going to be a right time. Everything will not align before you can start. I always tell myself, if I have 40 to 50% of the things going for me, I can go ahead. Never, ever wait for the right time, because the right time and everything good will not come. Procrastination is one of the master of indecision. If you procrastinate, which I know that we all do, I do that too. Try as much as possible not to procrastinate, because this takes you away from making your right decision. And in my own opinion, like I said, your decisions now should be everything and anything to make you have the best grades you can, and also something else you can offer apart from your grade. And it could be a myriad of anything. And sometimes it can be more than one thing. For some of us, it's people pleasing, always saying yes to everything. It's good to say yes, but you should know when to say yes and when to say no. Some are self-doubt. You doubt yourself. to the extent that you cannot make a simple decision because you are not sure whether the decision you're about to make, whether you can face it. Try as much as possible not to doubt yourself, and I'll show you ways by which in the next slide how you can overcome these difficulties in making the right decision. Forgetting the bigger picture. In fact, this is supposed to be the number one reason. Remember, why are you here? Why are you an undergraduate? The moment you remember why you are an undergraduate, it makes life easier. I remember them back then in OAU. I used to attend the Seat of Wisdom Catholic Church, right? I'm still a Catholic, by the way. My third year was so busy. I've always been an ardent member of SPE. I was the treasurer of SPE in my third year. I was the PRO in my church and fellowship then. And you still have to do all your normal schoolwork and also live off campus. So you can imagine how busy that year could be. But guess what? No matter how busy I am, I still make sure that I find time to read, especially when you know the kind of person you are, you know the right time to read, you know your tempo, you know how good you are. For some people, 10 hours of reading of some people is equivalent to 3 hours of some people. So you cannot compare yourself with others. What am I trying to say is that we saw some people that doesn't even do as much as we do in church, or even more than we do in church and SPE. But for some reason, they are not creating enough time to read and go through their notes and study. And they ended up having extra year just because you are serving God, just because you are going to mosque, just because you are going to church, just because you are part of of SPE or any other social organization on campus. Remember, what is the big picture? The reason why you are an undergraduate is to make sure that you come out with good grades. Nothing more, nothing else. You see, one of the easiest decisions to make in life, you think school is easy, wait until you leave school. The easiest time to make decision in life is when you are a student, when you are in school, because everything is laid out easily for you. All you need to do is read, pass, next class, read, pass, promote. What of those of us that are out there? Is there anything like that? Of course, there is. You still need to read and study in a way and pass and promote, but it is not clear cut for most people. So life after graduation is even worse. So always remember the bigger picture while you are there on campus. And life should be easier once you remember that. And sometimes one of the reasons why we fail to make the right decision is lack of proper knowledge of the subject. So anything that you want to dabble in as your second choice, you are already here. A lot of you that are in SPE today, by virtue of your course, petroleum engineering, geology, chemical engineering, I can say to an extent, it's probably the course of your choice. We all know that a lot of science courses, I wouldn't want to mention courses that are also under engineering courses, are as a result of people not being able to get the first course of their choice. And because of that, they are totally disinterested in that course. And they just end up with certificates that are more or less close to useless because they don't have proper knowledge of the subject. So try as much as possible, whatever you are studying, have proper knowledge of the subject. There's a difference between passing your exams and having proper knowledge of the subject. And also any other thing that you might want to do, make sure that you have proper knowledge of it because it helps. I haven't said that. Let's go through in another 10 minutes or thereabouts so that we can have some more time for questions on how we can make the right decision. What are the things that we can do to make the right decisions? Again, I'll repeat this so that you can hear it over and over from me. One, there are two things I need you to know in terms of making right decisions as an undergraduate. In my own opinion, you have two things you have two decisions to make. Number one is making the best out of your grades, first class or 2-1. That's your first decision. But if you cannot make that, even if pass is the best you can do, in fact, permit me to say the best test you can do, graduate and graduate well. And second thing, as you are in school, have something else that stands you out. It could be anything from the IT options we have out there, from public speaking to human interaction to volunteering for any cause. I told you mine was even mathematics when I was in school and its application. So have something else that can stand you out. Because at the end of the day, everybody will have a 2-1 or a first class. What else can you do? Okay. So one of the things that you can do to make the right decision is desire. Whenever I define desire for people, I said we all went to school, and a lot of us here are in school right now. See, we all desire to graduate, but all of us want first class. It's very few of us that actually desire to have a first class, because desiring something means that you have to do the work attached to it. You have to do the work. You have to sweat. Everybody and almost anybody will do whatever it takes to graduate. Permit me to say, sometimes some of you have to even sort lecturers to graduate, to know how desperate you are, which is something I would never encourage any of you to do. But I know people still do it anyways. I hope you are not one of them. Because if you ever sought in life to graduate, trust me, you will continue in life to sort with your body, to sort with anything and everything you have. And it will end well. Fact. It's the truth. Okay. So how well do you desire to graduate is the same way you should desire every other thing that you are deciding in school that will make you graduate or make you have that side option I mentioned about. And I said it is not even an option, it's something that is compulsory these days, because how many people out there even tend to get a first job or a job that is related to what they actually study in school? How many people out there can you consider as successful, in quotes, that you can say is a function of their BSc or their first degree? Okay, so make sure you desire whatever it is that whatever it is the decision that you have made to go on with. And I always tell people, you are always resourced. No matter what it is, you will always have at the back of your mind, and that's a cause for another day, right? You always have at the back of your mind the next thing to do. So you cannot say, I don't know what to do. You can tell me you don't know how to do it, I will agree, but there is nobody that can tell me I don't know what to do. The thing is that you will always kind of ask yourself, oh, or doubt maybe it will not work. But have you tried it? Okay. Next thing is acquire knowledge. It's compulsory, it's not optional. Acquire knowledge, acquire knowledge, acquire knowledge. You see, one thing about acquiring knowledge is that knowledge dispels fear. The more knowledgeable you are, the less fear you have in a lot of things. Because the reason why you are afraid of most things is because you don't know about it. I'm sure some of you have watched movies like The Gods Must Be Crazy, or some other movies that depict the early men or the earlier generations of men. You can see how they'll be afraid of something as small as matches or mirror or glasses, things like that, or bottles. Are you afraid of those things today? No, because you have the knowledge. The same way every other thing around you that you are seeing today is. The more knowledgeable you are, the more things will not look like magic or black box to you. So acquire knowledge. Acquire as much as knowledge as you can. It helps to dispel fear, and it gives you more courage to be able to make the right decision. Develop your confidence. As much as possible, develop your self-esteem. One of the things I presented to you, for those of you that were at STSC about a couple of weeks ago, or last month, was how to make sure you develop your own self-esteem. You can develop your self-esteem. And it's about you looking inward and making concise efforts to make sure that you develop your self-esteem. Because really, if you cannot imagine it, no, you cannot achieve it. It's been said over and over, but nobody will come and save you, really. So try as much as possible. What are you seeing in yourself? Develop a positive mentality about you, and that way it's easier for you to be able to radiate it. Sometimes you might need to get yourself an accountability partner. And now that we have a larger and broader access to the world around us, the person doesn't need to be from your school. It doesn't need to be from the course you study, because I understand that there might be that jealousy or hatred that is unspoken if your accountability partner is in your department, or your student, or your fellow student or colleague at work. Look for someone random from the people that might meet online or conferences. Sometimes you might not even have to be a student. Let them be your sounding board. Tell them, I need to do A, B, C. so that after a couple of weeks, a couple of months, they can ask you, you said you are going to do ABC. How long have you progressed? You won't want anybody that you consider your friend to ask you how far have you progressed on ABC, and every time you keep telling them that I've not done anything, I've not done anything, you will sound stupid. And because you don't want to always sound stupid, you'll be forced to do something. So that's the purpose of having a very good accountability partner. And I have a lot of them. I have a lot of them. Some of you online might even be one of them. I have a lot of people that makes me accountable in whatever I promise myself to do. Simplify. You see, most of us here are engineers. No matter how difficult problems are in the world, and that's one of the application of mathematics I tell people, try as much as possible to convert it to data. Simplify, simplify, simplify. When you convert your problem to data, it's easier to make decisions. And sometimes, I've told you, a lot of decisions are never good or bad. It's just a question of time. And don't let time be the deciding factor. So simplify, simplify, and simplify. Oh, I need to study this course because um people get more pay from it. Okay, how many people do you know that study this course? How much do they get paid? How much people study the other course? How long does it take to study? How much do they get paid? In future, what's the future of this course? Courses like that have happened, that has occurred in the past. How well do they behave? And you'll be able to pick the right decision. If you have to simplify to the extent that all you need to do is say this or that, if you have to flip a coin to decide, flip a coin, decide. You can imagine when there are two football matches between team A and team B. Instead of us deciding or fighting who plays first, what do? We just flip a coin. Because whoever plays first does whoever passes first does not really matter. Sometimes that's just the kind of decision you need to make, especially as an undergraduate. So simplify your decision, flip a coin if you have to. Last but not but not least on this is avoid questioning your final decision. Avoid questioning your final decision. Whenever you make a decision, you must make sure that you stick with it to a logical end. You see, our goals, our dream, our decisions, most of the time, they are always valid. The problem why they are not why they are not possible is because of the plan. Your plan will always fail, no matter how good they are. You have to do a couple of iterations or sometimes thousands of iterations for you to get to your final destination. I know if you make a bad decision and you're still going with it, yes, it's going to still be a bad goal. But guess what? Most of the time, you are not making a bad decision. Most of the time, you need to stick with your decision. A lot of the reason why people are not successful, even as undergraduates, is because you don't stick to your decision to a concluding end. You say, oh, I want to learn Python. The moment you stick, I want to learn Python, you have not even mastered Python, then you see R and you jump to R. You have not even learned R to the end, then you see some other language coming up and you say, oh, it's HTML I want to go back to. Learn it to a very, very good end where you are probably top 5 or top 10% in your surrounding. Till tomorrow, if you give me any computer program, I might not be able to run it, to program it, but I will know the likely errors and I can read the codes. Why? Because when I was in school back then, I studied my visual basics and I learned my visual basics to a very, very great extent. So follow your decisions to a logical conclusion and end. It gives you a hedge and advantage over the kind of person you will be at the end of the day. I've said a lot, but I always like for you people to have time to ask questions. And since this is being recorded, I hope Felu will be able to share this so that people can listen to it much later, because you can't get the same level of information from anything you read or anything if you don't go through it over and over again. So thank you very much for listening, and I will take your questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Temitope. Yes, I learned a lot, and yeah, I've written down some things, I would be working on for myself, and I'm sure we must have done the same here. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat box, or if you would like to speak, you can raise your hand and I would ask you to unmute and you can go ahead with your question. Thank you once again, Mr. Temitope. I would start with Samuel. Samuel, please, you can go ahead to unmute and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Once again, good evening, Mr. Temitope. Thank you once again for the presentation. So I'll go straight to my question. One is, I'm a recent graduate of chemical engineering, and I know most of these decisions, they are also applicable to recent graduates too as well. I don't know if you could just say one or two things. I know this is for undergraduates, but there are decisions too that we might likely want to make as graduates. So I don't know if you could just give a little tips for graduates. That's one question. Then two, while you were making your presentation, you made mention of people asking about one or two persons who have been successful in the career you want to pursue or what you want to do. Now, you also made mention of asking or finding out if they had good pay or if they really were successful, let's say financially. So my question here is that, is it okay to ask a person about remuneration, more like finance, of a particular career while trying to make a decision about it? Is it okay to ask about the pay? Thank you.
Lord Ifeoluwa for that, and Samuel, thanks for the question. Okay, so please, if you want to ask questions, kindly raise up your hand so I can see how much hands we have raised up. Then I can know how much I need to take for the question. I can only see one hand up, right? So in the next few minutes, if you know you have questions, raise up your hand so I know how much time to take to answer questions, because we are going to finish this up by 6 o'clock. Okay, so you asked 3 questions. One is any tips for graduates, since this is an undergraduate. Also, you asked about remuneration, right? Okay, 2 questions. If it's okay to ask people. Okay, so the tips I've given today, as much as it applies to undergraduates, it applies to recent graduates, it applies to people like us. Okay, but to focus more on recent graduates, most of recent graduates these days, one thing I advise them to do is, while you're even here in Nigeria, build yourself and find a way of furthering your masters outside the country. But most of the time, people are confused. Where do I go from here? What course do I study? All that. Again, knowledge dispels fear. If you have the desire, you know exactly what you want to pick. In my own opinion, I would advise you that as you are looking for a job, which is not easy, a lot of times getting a master's is within your control these days, depending on your grade, your course, and the choice of country. So decide on the choice of country you want to you want to go in. SPE, especially those of you that are connected to Lagos section, you have robust number of students that are currently studying or studied. Ask them question, what can I do? What are the available scholarship? I'm sure if you start listing 1, 2, 3, you yourself, Samuel, you will know at least 10 people that are currently studying outside the country. Ask them questions. From there, you see the options that are good for you. You see why you need to go to Canada or maybe US or UK or some other locations, right? So that way, that helps you. For the remuneration, of course, you can ask. Why can't you ask? People will but you asking will be how close you are to that person. I don't expect anyone on this call to just say, "Oh, ask me, boss, how much did you make?" I probably will not answer you. Okay. But some of you are closer, one-on-one, you know when to ask me. And again, you cannot be so close to a mentor if you don't have something to offer that mentor to. You must have something to offer. You should have helped the mentor one way or the other. That's how you become close. Sometimes helping the mentor means that each time you go to the mentor with a particular problem, that whatever recommendation that mentor gives you, you go and do it before you come to tell him or her that, okay, it doesn't work. You can say, okay, sir, the last time we spoke, I told you A, B, C. I have done A and B. I'm still trying to do C. Okay, what else should I do? What else do I need to do? That way it gets you closer to the mentor, and you can ask as much questions as you can. There are some of you, again, I can literally say thousands, not hundreds, of proteges out there these days. And some of them, they are very close to me that they can ask any question. You could be surprised the kind of questions that some of them will ask me, and I'm willing to answer. Why? Is a level of familiarity. Okay. So I hope that answers your question, Samuel. Over to you, Felua.
Thank you so much for that, sir. I'm sure that answers Samuel's question because that was sufficient for me. Apologies if if it wasn't, but thank you so much, sir. Over to you, Rocky. You can go ahead to ask your question. Please unmute.
Okay. Good evening, sir, and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Engineer Temitope, for taking your time in mentoring us. So I just have two questions to ask you, sir. So my first question is how to deal with fear of uncertainty when dealing with people, or especially when making a request or inquiry. So how to deal with fear of uncertainty when we're about to deal with related people, when we need to make a request or inquiry. So how can we deal with that kind of problem? And my second question is that what would be your advice advice for undergraduate students who will soon be a graduate, a final year student, between furthering for postgraduate or taking up a job upon his graduation? Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Rocky, for your question. Okay, so the first question you said, fear of uncertainty when you ask people something, especially because people might say no. And the second thing is what to do in between graduation and maybe NYSC, or while you are trying to do your masters. I think I get that correctly. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so your first question, the fear. See, people will tell you no. Do you know? I have businesses. I have NGOs. Do you know how many no's I get? But sometimes all you need is just one single yes, just one person to say yes, one person. And if you look at people that have said yes to you, how well they have made you go on faster. You don't need the whole world to say yes to you. You don't. The whole world doesn't say yes to Satan, neither do they say yes to Jesus or God. So nobody will say yes to anybody. Everybody will not say yes. You get my point? You will always get no. But it's just that as human beings, whenever we hear the word no, it kind of eats us other than the yeses. But count your blessings, really. Look at the yeses you've got. You will see that one yes is like much more than the thousands of no's you've actually gotten. Now, how do you get that yes? Number one, I will always tell you guys, what do you have to offer? What distinguishes you from the other students? And you are not competing with anybody. You are in competition with yourself. And every human being has something to offer, and every human being is unique. The problem is when you are not developing yourself every day and every moment to be able to add more value. Because no matter how good you are today, you will not be comfortable if you are at the same level of knowledge a year from now. You will feel outdated. It's normal. Your confidence grows from you moving ahead every day, because when you learn new things, then it's easier to say, oh, let me go and apply it every day. You don't feel plateaued. You don't feel marked out. And learn your human relationship skills too. You see, your human relation skills, and there are countless of them, they will take you further and further than what your DYDX can take you. You all know that by now. It's a given. Thank God for something like SPE. A lot of students does not have that opportunity to have something like SPE. Your ability, the single most assured way of being successful in life is the number of people you can work with without infringing on their rights. And your school will not teach you that. So how many people can actually work with easily without infringing on their rights? Today, I have 40 of you on call. I don't know majority of you. But if tomorrow you see Maths for Life, or you see me say I need volunteers to do something in OAU, won't you volunteer? And why you will? Without me paying you a dime. In fact, you even spend some money on my behalf before I ask you. Why? Because I'm here adding value to you. Is it free? Yes. But guess what? You will reap it one way or the other in future. So before you approach people to ask them something. Number one, do you really have something to offer? While I was in Ghana for SPE conference, I met a young man. Maybe probably I might just be maximum 5 years older than him. And it was like, okay, he needs some help. We were talking with some other people and all that. At the end of the day, I told him that, see, you know your number one problem. It would have been good to help you right now. You are in your 30s, but you don't have anything that one can actually help. They say God will bless the work of your hand. Sorry that I'm quoting scriptures for those of us that might not be Christian. What do you actually have to offer? You can't just tell me, sir, I need internship. You should be able to display something for someone to say, okay, you probably will fit in this place. You probably will fit in this area. So what actually do you have to offer? Secondly, when you say what to do between masters and between while you are graduating and what to do in masters, again, it all boils down to the same thing. What actually do you have to offer? Whatever that thing is sales you have to offer, let people know about it. If it's service related, anytime I check your WhatsApp status, people, whatever it is that you have to offer, it must always be on your WhatsApp status and your social media. At least every other day, if not every day. Let people know that, oh, whenever I think of buying shoes, I will think of Mr. A. Whenever I think of buying lipstick, I will think of Mr. B. Whenever I think of people that can volunteer for a cause, I will think of Madam C or Miss C. Whatever it is that you know you can offer, let people know it with you, okay? That way, it gives you the opportunity for you to be able to get some money and some respect and some living while you are still trying to go for masters or find a job, okay? Any last question? One more question. We have 3 minutes to go.
Thank you, Mr. Temitope.
Thank you so much.
You can go ahead to ask your question, and I'll read one from the chat right after.
Yeah, good evening, everyone, and good evening to you, Engineer Temitope. It's always a privilege listening to you. Immediately I saw the link to register, I have to jump into it yesterday because I actually know that one way or the other, you end up adding a value to my life again, as usual. So, like, what so far, I know that from the teachings now today, like from the enlightenment today, I've seen in a recent time, like few months time down the line, I took some really good decision, which I know that it is good for me, but that it doesn't end there. I think few months down the line again, back. So I think I was stuck in taking a decision, most precisely on NAIS. I think last year NAIS registration was 25,000. So I was looking at, okay, what's the accommodation kind of, how do I get accommodation? I let the opportunity slide. Then I made a decision during STSC, this just concluded STSC, that will definitely be nice. Now, when checking the price yesterday, I can see that it has skyrocketed to 50,000, which I think last year there was even a chance for, like, there was a registration fee of the student for students to be 25,000. So now my question now is this: how, since my indecision actually costed me last year, and I already make a decision and I'm stuck in a situation whereby, okay, maybe the price is kind of high for me, but I definitely it's actually going to what's paying. So my question now is, how can in this situation, what's the best decision can I take? Should I take? And is it still like right now? Is it possible for me for someone to get a nice sponsorship?
So this is what I will say, right? Thank God some of you I know, some of you I don't know. Everybody wants Nike sponsorship. Who tells you I don't want? I want to now. Of course, you sponsor me to Nike ATCE. I will take it. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if you join me at the start of this, see, whatever you really, really want in life, you need to be able to praise the price. I can promise you, I have nothing less than 10 students. Again, some of you are on here that they know that I'm going to sponsor them to NAIS one way or the other this year. At least, if I count 1, 2, 3, they are nothing less than 10 students. Some from my purse, some by volunteering, some from different Why? Because they have shown and displayed some level of value for themselves, for me, and for other people. But if you're not there yet, if you really have to look for that money, if you really desire to go and look for that money, you will get it. You will come there. But again, if you know that you don't want to, or you decide today that you are not going to, so that you can spend your thinking and your energy somewhere else. Don't let time decide for you. Don't let August 1 come and say, okay, it's now August 1, I cannot go for NAIS again. You have wasted your thinking time between now and August 1. Decide now. Do you want to go for NAIS? If the answer is yes, start working ways of how to go. You don't want to go for NAIS? No. Use that energy to do something else. Okay? Decide. Don't let time decide for you. Yes or no. If you have to flip a coin on whether to go for NAIS or not, flip it. Okay? If not, August 1 will come, it will decide for you. What next year, 50K becomes 75K or 100K. As easy as that. I think I have one last question here on the chat. I'll quickly take that. It says, please, how can someone make the right decision on a particular aspect of his or her course of study to focus on as an undergraduate planning? This is very vague. Please, how can someone make the right decision on a particular aspect of his or her course of study to focus on as an undergraduate planning going on IT? See, on IT, if what you are trying to do is IT, again, there is really no relationship a lot apart from medicine and sometimes petroleum engineering, if you are still lucky, between your course of study, your IT, and your workplace. My first internship was software, not software, MS. There is no software in those days. Is computer appreciation and learning Word document, Excel, PowerPoint, and the likes. That's my first 3 months IT. No, 2 months. My first 2 months IT was mechanic. Those of you I will remember that mechanic workshop. Second one was Microsoft computing and all that. Then the third one was an oil servicing firm. Well, where all I learned is oil and gas, bid packaging and starting a business and all that in oil and gas. Where am I today? Totally different. All four. And what I'm doing is totally different. Okay. Because at the end of the day, your IT, your work sometimes is a function of what is out there at the time you graduate or at the time of your internship. So don't be picky when it comes to IT or your choice of word. If it pays well, trust me, if tomorrow you are good at interpreting your local language to English and they will pay as much or more than your petroleum engineering, won't you take that job? Most of you will take it because at the end of the day, why are we here? For the money. Again, thanks a lot. I'm past bed. I passed my time. I need to join another session. Thanks a lot for listening. I really appreciate it. Over to you, Ifeoluwa.
Thank you so much, sir. For someone that for the question I just dropped, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. You can also join Math for Life, or you can join a variety of things Mr. Temitope is interested in. Thank you so much, sir. I'll be forwarding my own questions to you personally, sir. I hope you indulge me, sir. All right.
Is it possible for everybody to on their video so you can take a screenshot? If you can do that, that would be a great one.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, put on your video and let's do a picture collage. Yeah, gallery. I think. Yeah. So if I can do the screenshot. Video. Yeah, put on your video. Let me see if I can bring my sniping tool. Hold on. Snipe. Okay, so you can say cheese also. Thank you. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate. Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Nice to see you, everyone. Nice to see you, David. Nice to see you. Okay, there are so many names in this session. All right, thank you so much, sir, for joining. This session was amazing. I've learned a lot and I've built up questions for you, sir. So our program continues tomorrow at BOD by 12 p.m. We'll be having 2 or 3 professions And on Thursday as well, we'll be having 2 professions. And on Friday, we'll be ending with an energy debate for secondary schools and a membership program for undergraduates and, people that are about to graduate. So you know what to do with SPE after graduation. Thank you so much, sir, for joining, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you, sir. And that will be
Very
all.
much.
Thank you, everyone. I don't know if Aminu Mohammed is here. Please, you can text me on WhatsApp. I can drop my number here if you have questions. Okay.
Hi, Mr. Ifelua. Can I ask you a question?
Oh, yes, go ahead. Sure.
The upcoming event you're having tomorrow, is it hybrid or physical? How can we join the?
Yeah, it's hybrid. I would share the link. We will be doing it here on campus, and of course, our speakers will be joining us virtually. So there will be a Zoom link for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be expecting that.
Yeah, no problem. I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Please, sorry for unmuting, but I have a question, please.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Please, some of us we joined lately due to some activities we're engaged in. Please, can we get a video